Hi, people. You're welcome to today's podcast, and I remain your girl, Han Mac. How are you? Hope you've been fine. Hope today's podcast makes you well and okay. So, a recap from our last episode, which was all about how rape affected me as a person and how I realized that it destroyed my relationship with my parents, my relationship with God, and friendship was lost in all of that. So, going back now, retracing my steps, I was conscious to start rebuilding because I realized that if I remain a victim for all this while, I will continue to just rot. So I needed to come out of being a victim and actually just accept the fact that holding on to the thoughts that I was a victim, but accept the fact that it has happened and it's time to move on. And so it was a healing journey for me. So last time we agreed that we're going to start with faith, right? Journey into faith. Handmark's journey into faith. Good. So my journey into faith. You remember I told you that the whole concept of realizing that I was raped and a lot of memories that came back and all of that was because I went to a particular church program, right? So I was at this church program and they were talking about, well, a very sanctimonious church program. I don't want to necessarily call the people out for what they are because I believe that we all are doing things differently for God in different departments. And eventually we work. It's just that it doesn't have to be for everybody. So I attended this program and we're at the program and we were talking about, so different women were talking about chastity, the whole concept of the life of celibacy, and they were talking about it. And one of the women that was speaking at that time was discussing about how she felt women begin to give excuses from themselves now because medical personnel have watered down the whole concept of virginity and they've reduced it to that you hard work, hard labor. They grew up in some of them that grew up in the villages, they still married virgins, so they cannot use hard labor as that. So we should not excuse it. A virgin is a virgin, a virgin is not one. Which I felt, well, that was a little bit extreme. She was taking it too far. So what then was it all about? She talked about, and then people rape, and they watered down rape as the fact that they felt rape was because you put yourself in a place whereby a man can rape you, right? So the whole concept of you go to a man's room where you were not supposed to go, you do a lot of things where you're not supposed to do. So basically at that point I was a product of rape. So I felt it was like, okay, there was something that was wrong with me then. So I left more hurt than I needed help because I felt maybe there was something wrong with me. There was something that I did. But one thing that struck me was I started asking God questions because I felt they could not answer and I felt they were not very exposed enough to answer the questions I had in my mind. So if there was something I did to qualify to be raped, right? What did I do as a 4-year-old child that qualified me for rape? How could I possibly have seduced a man at 4 when I didn't know the difference between bonbon and a man's bonbon and a woman's bonbon? How was I supposed to cover myself? How was I supposed to take care of myself at that point? Then it's like at age 12, what could I have done differently that would have exempted me from being raped? So I was asking God. So it had to be two people. It's either my parents failed or the God I serve failed. So it meant that I didn't do well. So since there was something I needed to do to qualify, so it's like, okay, so obviously this guy didn't like me too much. And by guy, I mean God. There's something that I have done that he has taken him out of love for me that will allow me to be raped at age 4, that will allow another attempted rape at age 12, between 11 and 12, I think I was in just 2 or 3. That will allow me to have to go through all of this again. There must be something that I'm doing wrong. There must be something that I'm getting wrong. And I felt that burden was too much on me. So it's like I was just so done. So I was deeply offended with God because I felt he allowed it. I was also very offended with my parents because I felt that, okay, at age 4, there was nothing I could do. At 19, maybe the event of 19 could have been avoided. But the event at age 12 and at age 4 couldn't have been avoided. So it meant that I was supposed to be sheltered at that point, and there was something that should have been done differently to have helped me not to come into that. But since it was not done, it meant that it's simply God didn't like me enough to do that. So you remember I said it led to a downward spiral. Came back home, talked about it with my parents, but superficially just to hear their intakes, because generally I'm a very inquisitive person. So I wanted to hear my dad's take on it, because I felt I've always loved having conversations with my dad. I've always believed that he's quite objective. So if I wanted to know the truth about the situation, and having a conversation with him would actually bring me into that, the truth of a situation, of that particular situation. So I went on that. So, but it was still not making sense, So I think the first thing I started doing was trying to go attend different programs, go to different churches, try them out. I was in cooking then. I was trying to attend different churches to see whether I could get the help I needed. And it's like every time I went somewhere, they were falling short, and I was not willing to have the conversation with anybody else, because my attempt in having the conversation led to another occurrence at age 19. So you see, I didn't want to have the conversation because I was tired of being the victim, right? And the helplessness came from the fact that I felt this was my body and my body was violated, but I was told how to handle my body. So I lost faith in men as a human race, in the sense that if the only thing you look at a woman and all you can see is the pleasure you can get from her body, then I'm not sure I have much respect for you, because the day I'm not a willing participant, you resort to rape. So I would rather be a willing participant and know that I still retained the power over my body, than to come into the helplessness where you want to force yourself and get it from me. And that breaks me in a way that I can't explain in English. So because of that, it was easier for me to just negotiate. What do you want? A man walks up to me and tells me he likes me. I'm the one blunt person who just tell me, what do you really want? If it's just sleep with me, I'll just tell me. And I think I could possibly sleep with you, maybe I could consider it. But I just want us to be outright and blunt. It's either I'm doing it or I'm not doing it. Do you understand? So I didn't feel that men actually wanted me for anything much more than what was in between my legs. And the moment I sensed that was what you wanted, which was majorly to sleep with me, and I do not sense a form of commitment, I do not sense a form of anything, I just simply just looked down on you. And if I wanted, I could participate. If I don't want, but I didn't have much respect for you after that. I just looked at you like any other person else in the same bandwagon of the people who have hurt me in life. You are as shallow and you're as weak-minded as everybody else who did that to me. So putting it together, I felt no, it was not worth it. So it's like my journey to faith. I was trying to find this God first, not just to find him, but to tell him a piece of my mind. I wanted to encounter this God to tell me a piece of my mind, because if you cannot have rules and then you don't have structures to make sure that the people don't fall into these kind of things. I felt that his structures were flawed. So I needed to talk to this dude to make him understand that it's not possible. And I think I was looking at it from an intellectual point. If I'm saying that don't do this, give me an alternative on what not to do. So if you're telling me, if I was supposed to take responsibility for my virginity at age 4, then the least you can do is put structures. Awake the people that are supposed to handle it to do their job. But you cannot not require something from me and then not put it in the minds of people that are supposed to do it or supposed to shield me in that season of my life to do all of that. So I was just a very bitter, angry person. So in all of that, I didn't feel that then it must be that this virginity is not very important to you. And as it is, if somebody has already carried it one too many times, then there's really not much I can do about it. So now, futuristically, I'm talking at Hammock at age 19. Futuristically, now I'm taking charge of my body. Do you understand? To do with it as I see fit, to just do anything I want to do with it. And henceforth, I didn't want you to comment. But I realized the more I took charge of my body and the more I took charge of myself to own it and to do with it I want to do it, the way I want to do it, anything I want to do with it, as far as I'm in control. So I had a problem with control. I think that was the first thing I noticed about myself. Now in retrospect, control. So I wanted to be in control of my body so that nobody would take control of it without my permission. without my say so. So those were some of the things I wanted to do. So on going on and on and on and on, it got so bad that I was a very bitter, angry, hurt, broken person. So at age, I think it was at 22, right? I think I went for a particular program that I just strolled into it, and I went there and I told, we're sitting down there. So I had a prayer. I told God something. I said, I don't know if you exist or not. And even if you existed, I don't know if you want to have anything to do with me. But if you do, I would want you to do two things. Number one, send somebody my way that I will not have to tell the person anything about where I have been, how much rottenness has come as consequences of my actions and inactions. I want you to tell the person everything the person needs to know, where he's not waiting for me to tell the person. That's proof that you sent the person. Two, I want to be able to look at the person in the eye and not see judgment and condemnation on where I have been. Then I will know that you sent the person to me, So that was my prayer in that meeting. And the condition was that I don't know if you exist. I don't know if you exist and you could possibly be interested in me. But if you are existing, I want you to send somebody to me. If you're still interested in me, this was my condition. And I was willing to come back. And I promised that if I come back, there was no turning back again. But I needed proof that you existed and that you were interested in me. So those were my conditions. Fast forward to, I think I was about 22. Yeah, that was 21. That was my prayer of 21, right? So when I became 22, somewhere we're going for I think it was Crest Hotel then in Jos, Plateau State, and then we're going for clubbing at that time. So I was going to the club that day, and we're all dressed and set to go to club, but then it was not yet time, so we're hoping that we'll be at the club by 10. But first we needed to go hang out, and we went somewhere else to hang out, to just drinks, have fun before we stormed the club by 10-11. So we're there, the table, we're having fun. I was not too much into alcohol, so anybody who I'm not a judgmental person, so you want to do alcohol, feel free. Whatever you want to do, just do. It's just I just don't do it. So I didn't really drink, I didn't really smoke, but I would partake in whatever I wanted to partake in, soft drinks, food or something. So I was there, but pretty much everybody that was around me was pretty much drinking or doing something. I got a call from a particular number and said, hello, how are you? I said, fine. Motherly, how are you? My name is so and so. I got your number from your mother. I have a message for you from the Lord. I was praying for you. She sounded very sweet. I was praying for you. And the moment she mentioned praying for you and the where I was, I can never forget. They were singing Flavor, Nigerian artist Flavor. So, open the door, show me the way, and I just love. So I was dancing, I was listening to it, and I was just nodding my head, and I was enjoying. I was praying. I said, you were what? She said she was praying. I said, excuse me, ma, can I call you back? Because where I was not very friendly with the prayer and the whole message she had for me from the Lord. I said, no, it's not working. I will call you back, ma. She said, no, don't worry. Just go to where we can talk and I will talk. I said, no, I will call you back. She said she has no confidence that if she cuts this call, I will call her back. Now that she have catch me, she wants to also have this conversation. I said, is that so? So I started running. I can never forget, it was at Tina Junction. I started running to UU Martins. Yes, I started running. I had to run and it was evening. So, at every point there was so much grass, crowded, all those fish spots and everywhere. And I was running. I was just running and I had to catch my breath. I said, hello, I found a place. I looked for a rock and I sat down there. And I said, I found the place. Can we now talk? I was panting. And she said, are you okay? I want you to catch your breath and relax. Is there a place you can? I said, yes. I said, okay, like I was saying, my dear, I was praying for you and God sent me to you. God told me so much about you and I wanted to meet you. Is that okay? I said, yeah, sure, no problem. She said, so I'll be coming to town. That was when I understood she was not even from Plateau. She was not in Jos at that point. And I was like, you're coming to town to see me? He said, yes. Said, we'll, and it was on Friday. So she was telling me next week. Said, will it work for me? I said, no problem. I was a little bit broken. So it just flashed in my mind. Okay, I prayed that somebody comes. And she was sounding so loving. So you know how a person's voice endears you to the person and you really want to hear more about what this person is saying. Yeah. So I told her no problem. She said, so she'll be town on next week. So can we plan to spend the weekend together? I said, not a problem. Yeah. When she finished, you know how the Bible says, then and God hardened the heart of Pharaoh. Yes, that was what happened. After that scenario, you think I have sense that, okay, God has remembered me, and he's sending somebody to me. It didn't work. After that encounter, it was nice. I started walking back and I was like, oh shit, see, I've trekked so far. And gradually some things I was like, yeah, been there, done that. God said this, God said that. God has been saying a lot of things and none of it. All right, bullshit. Let me get over it. Let me not have too many expectations. And I walked away from all of that and never really thought about it again. Fast forward to the Friday, she came to town and called me. And my mom called me, said, so there's a particular woman that she gave me her number and she's in town and she wants to talk to me. I said, okay. She wants to talk to me. I said, that's nice. I said, so but this Friday is not going to work because this Friday evening, we're going to have a program. I can't remember, was it FCS I told her, or was it NIFES? All of which I was never in attendance of any of them. But I shall use them. They were convenient. We're having a program that evening in school. We're going to the hostel. We're going to do what? All lies fabricated. And she said, it's okay now. So that means Saturday will work. I said, let's see. But the way I'm looking at it, there was this our lecturer that gave us an assignment that he said we must want to submit it in person. And there's a likelihood we're going to have tests in the morning. But if I'm even coming on Saturday, it has to be in the evening. So I said, and then FCS came and gave a call. They did a rally or something that I needed to attend. And some of us needed to arrive on time so that we'll be praying for the program. So we'll arrive on time and pray. Take time to pray. Basically, just kept on fabricating one lie after the other to make sure that I didn't meet her, because now I didn't want to meet her. And I think part of my problem was that the whole concept of my condition was that I didn't want to talk. I was not willing to talk about it with my parents. Why? I didn't want to break them that far, because I saw what the day they realized that I was raped in my childhood. The remaining is I didn't talk about. This was what I talked about at age 4. I didn't talk about the one that was at age 12. I've not talked about the one that happened at age 19. So it's like the small one that people heard. You were so broken. I'm not sure. I didn't want to talk about. So it's like, and she was coming through my parents. So I didn't have gara. I didn't want a situation where they'll sit me down as a panel and start that kind of conversation. And I felt it was not going to work for me. It's not like I didn't want them to know. I could want them to know. I didn't have a problem with them knowing. I was just didn't want to see that hurt look in their eyes. I didn't want to see them that broken. So I was not sure I wanted to do all of that. It was not working for me. So the moment she was coming and she said she'll come to my parents' house, she was lodging somewhere, but she'll come and let's meet in my parents' house. And I was not willing to talk. So she came and spent the whole Friday, the whole Saturday in my parents' house. So they told her to spend the night. So she eventually spent the night that day in the house. On Sunday, I told them I can't come. How will I come in the morning? I have to go to church first. So in my mind, it's like, she said, I had assumed some things. There were parameters that I had considered. She was a married woman, so she can't come and spend the whole weekend, and she's a worker, so she has to go to work on Monday morning. So any which way we do, she shall go back to her home by Sunday evening. Wherever she's coming from, she must have to travel by afternoon. So I called my dad. I was keeping him abreast of all my different things at different levels, that okay, so I'm on my way now. Eventually by 4 I strolled into the house, and I saw her in the parlor. And I just guessed she was the one because I didn't know her. I just guessed she was the one. And I looked at her and I was like, sorry, I kept her. She said, no problem. Do you know what? The part that shocked me the most was that this woman had no plan of going anywhere until she met me. And I was like, okay, this one, I get the fact that she wants to meet me. But must she be this tenacious about it? Must she be this invested in it? So I looked at her, I said, I'm very hungry. Can I please eat? She said, yes. I went and ate. Came back and I said, "Kai, I think I want to take a cup of tea. I shall wasted more time. So somewhere around 6, she said, let's talk. When she said, let us talk, sir, my father and mother stood up that we are going to go and talk. I think where she earned my respect was she said, no, she said she wants to talk to her Marco. It's not like she wants to talk with them. She didn't need any of them present. It's just me she wanted to talk to. I was like, okay. Then it's like I turned and looked at them and just smiled and I was happy. I went inside. I said, so without beating around the bush, this is what she wants to tell me. The woman gave me my whole life story. She carried 1 hour, was just speaking about a lot of things. And she was, the way she was saying it as if she's talking about somebody, it's not as if things were painful. She was saying it and smiling. Said at this point when this happened to you, made this decision. At this point when this happened, you took this decision. At this point, she was analyzing my life as if all of those things I had gone through were not as traumatic. And she was smiling and it was the love in her eyes for me. You would think she came to tell me something very important. After she finished, she said, God just told me he had to come and make sure to remind me that he still loves me. He's still invested. He still cares about me. When she was saying it, I could feel the love. And so it's like, it struck me again. All the conditions are met. And Mark, what do you say at this point? I didn't say a word to her. And I just looked at her. I said, okay, thank you. She said, can she pray with me? I said, sure. She went ahead and prayed. I'm not sure I even blinked in her prayer. Just wide-eyed, just looking at her. But as I even say, a song comes to mind. There's this Hill song. Is Hill song, Abby? Is Hill song? These people that sang, these people that sang, my Jesus, my Savior. Is Hill song, right? No, I like you all of my days. I want to praise. Yes, there's this song that they sang. Darling, check. Yes. So there's these people like that. And then there's this song. They said, wide-eyed and mystified, may I be just like a child, staring at the beauty of my King. Then there's a part of the song that says, may we never lose my wonder. May I never lose my wonder. That's, when I think about it in retrospect, that's the song that comes to mind. It's like I was, also this guy can actually be this thoughtful. And where was he all this time? But I think it struck me. And, oh God, I'm just having a lot of songs in my mind now. This, Sinat, stand amazed in your presence. There is nothing you cannot do, So it's like this guy, you can actually do plenty things and you just folded your arms and ignored me all this while. That these things should just go and be happening to me as if you are not there. So you are actually there. I think it was the first time. The joy for me was that, so he was listening. So he actually did hear me. That's one. And then he was there all this while. So, but that as much as I appreciated all of that and that he was telling me he loved me, I was wondering, where was the love? So it generated more questions, but I was beginning, it's like, okay, finally I get to be able to, now we've proved that you're there. Now you prove you exist. Now we have proof that you still like me. Do you understand? So we're going to have to now begin to navigate these things because there are a lot of questions that I needed you to answer for me. So when I finished talking with her, it just generated more questions. But at least now you've answered. First, we have a good foundation. You are there. You exist. You like her, Mark. No, in this case, you said you love her, Mark. So where do we go from here? I think they were all expecting me to do a lot of things, maybe to have fallen and just weep or do a lot of things. I didn't say anything. I was wide-eyed and mystified, just watching what was happening. And we finished all of that. And she left, I think somewhere around, it was to 9. And my parents said, okay. My parents said, my dad, of course, jumped. When I came out of the room, I just straight face. And he said, Mark, what do you want to eat tonight? What do you want to eat? He feels like buying me fish or something. What do I want to eat here? And I don't want to eat anything. He said, okay, so he can give me the money if I want the money. Well, in my house, it was public knowledge that I loved money. So if you say anything and if you offer me money, if I reject, you know that there's problem. So when he offered me the money, I said, no, it's not like I'm looking for money like that. I just want to go home. He said, I am home. I said, I want to go to my room, my own space. I want to go to my room. He said, it's not a problem. I'll drop you off. I said, I don't need it. He said, okay, take transport. I said, I still have transport. Just leave me alone. You know, it took the woman calming both parents down, because the way I was acting was very strange. They said, you should let me go. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. We left. I think I went straight faced, straight to my room in school. I was staying at somewhere around City of David. Then I was in University of Jos. Went to my room, opened my door, greeted everybody outside, smiled, entered the room. When I locked the door, then I just leaned on the door and I wailed. I don't want to say cry, I wailed. You know how it comes from your inside. The outside person say, you know, it's from your soul. It's you're wailing and it's coming from a deepest part of your soul. And I locked the door, so nobody could even come to attempt to even comfort me or ask me the question. And the good part of it was that, you know, then a lot of music, everybody was playing his own music. So even if you hear it, you can't hear it at the degree to which it was coming at. I just was sitting down there and I wept. By the door, I carried coiled there like a child, and I think I stayed there for about 2 hours without moving and having nothing to say but to just say, so you were there. That was all I had to tell God. So you were there, you were watching, and you felt it was okay for you to allow me to do. I was never questioning the love of God for me. I think that's what was profound for me in that moment, because I understood He loved me. Do you get? So it's like, this is a very twisted kind of love. You were there, and yet you allowed it. You were there, and yet you watched it. How can you love somebody and watch the person be humiliated at the highest degree, and you were okay? I can't seem to understand this love. But then I had accepted the love. It had found a dwelling place in me. I had accepted the love. But the point was that, so you were there. So it was relief, it was frustration, it was a new set of questions, it was anger, it was a lot of things. But then the assurance was also there. You were there. And since I'd been going to churches and I've not really found what I wanted, and I was not really getting the answers I wanted, so I think I decided, and the one thing that struck me was that the questions I had asked, I had so many questions that I needed answer, but I did not even trust anybody enough to answer me. So what do I do now? And then the witness in my spirit in that moment was, I should take the Bible and start a study on the book of Romans. Trust me, I was not like, when all this thing I'm telling you, I'm making you look, I was not that serious. I knew that He loved me. I knew that He was there. I knew that He was interested in me. But I was not at that profound moment of turning my life around. Now I had proof. I needed proof. Now I had proof. So I needed those questions answered in my mind first. So it's like, go to the book of Romans and start studying the book of Romans. I will speak to you myself. I think I went to the book of Romans and I spent 3 months there was this insatiable thirst that I needed to know this God that we're talking about. I needed to come in contact with this God that we're talking about. So I allowed so it's like every time I went for classes, I came back, I was in a hurry to go to my room to pick my Bible to continue, and I was writing every insight and understanding, because I had questions that needed to be answered. And as I was reading those things, I was beginning to answer. So, okay, connecting the dots together. So, okay, so this was what you meant. So it was not necessarily, okay, sin, the whole concept of sin, the whole concept of grace, the whole concept that shall we continue to sin that grace might abound, the whole things that were coming together. And it was like a beautiful puzzle. And if you're as intellectual as and inquisitive as my mind is, you would understand that as it's being put together, I was beginning to find healing with those questions being answered. So the quest for the scripture, as I was doing all of that, I was beginning to get answers. Don't worry, I'll tell you more about the answers. You want to know the answers to that? Yeah, it's very interesting. That journey is very interesting. So this is the foundation for my journey into faith, right? So this is it. Stay tuned for much more. And there's much more. You'll be very surprised what is obtainable in this Bible. But it was my journey. And for more of this journey, of course, you thought I was going to tell you everything today. No, I'm not going to tell you everything today. For this journey, for more of it, you check on our social media platforms at the Total Woman Podcast on Facebook, on Instagram. Guess what? My manager just told me we're launching a YouTube channel. So maybe on our YouTube channel very soon. Hopefully, Oshe. Yes. So we'll do that. Let's keep fingers crossed. Keep your fingers crossed. But let's do this. We'll hear more, right, on the things I got to discover and how it began to restore my confidence in religion. Stay tuned. I remain your girl, Han Mac. Peace out. See you next. Bye.